So the rest of this, what we have already talked about, you understood, right? What I'm
Yes, I did.
setting up
Yeah.
here. And so the magic paragraph concept, and this is something I always teach to my students when they start writing reports, that should be a one-stop shop for your audience to get a view of what your report is about, what your overall project is about. And that magic paragraph serves two purposes. One, for the audience, it helps them get the broad picture in one paragraph. For you, as the writer, it ensures that you don't go into something that we define as scope creep, right? Scope creep meaning that COVID-19 is such a broad area today of analysis. There is so many different directions you can go with it. And you are trying to put yourself and narrow yourself into a specific set. And you are trying to only talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
The magic paragraph will ensure that you stick to the gun and you don't go beyond it, because that's when the report goes everywhere. Okay, so what I will mention here is a little bit of a format, and that will hopefully help you. Oh, you have a lot written up here. This is good. Hopefully you should be able to connect these back to those broad segments that we just defined, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have more here?
Yeah, that's just
Okay,
notes.
good, good, good. No. This is how you prepare. You've done a good job. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to set the tone here. You should be able to fill up the blanks. Okay, so it's a simple paragraph. First line.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about it. The purpose of this paper is to what? You've already said it.
Discuss the supply and demand mismatches and risk management from
In light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the purpose of this paper is to investigate supply-demand mismatch
Okay.
and risks in the supply chain, in the global supply chain, due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
Right?
So is this like my thesis statement?
It's very similar, right? The magic paragraph actually feeds into everything else. It becomes a little bit of massaging of the paragraph turns into your abstract or summary. It also becomes your thesis statement. You can build this from anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
It also becomes a research statement, right? So that's basically what it is. Okay, so that's the essentially the first line of the paragraph. The second line then becomes let's review this one more time. Purpose of this paper is to investigate in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so when I say mention specifics that are discussed in the context, you basically, your second or third line basically goes with, we look at supply-demand mismatch from a supply chain perspective first, and then specifically into what a systemic pandemic across the entire global belt has led to from a demand supply mismatch standpoint, looking not only at um, materials um, that are critical for day-to-day operations in healthcare, but also at human resources who are even more critical for the successful dissemination of these operations. Because you are looking into both aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that then becomes the second and third statement, right?
Okay.
Um, Finally, right? So that final next couple of lines in this paragraph would be um, COVID-19 would not be the last pandemic this world ever sees.
Mm-hmm.
And these kind of situations will come and go. Today it's a pandemic, tomorrow it can be a global crisis. Um, how do uh, healthcare supply chains, how should healthcare supply chains position themselves to manage global crisis in the future? So we
Okay.
provide some guidance. Um, this paper provides some guidance on um, risk mitigation measures that may be taken to um, help a smoother transition of materials and resources globally in terms of in times of similar crisis. Oh, I'm so glad we are recording this, because if you ask me to say this again, I'm
I know,
messing it up.
right?
Good, good. So so Makayla, then that becomes, and when you write this up, send it to me via email. This may go
Okay.
through a few iterations, but once
Yeah.
this magic paragraph is set for you, the rest of your paper is ready.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
then
I think yeah.
you then just expand on each of those, and then that becomes your paper.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, so can we go back up to the top? I have a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
So like, I want to talk about like forecasting, how that could help. Would that go under risk?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So how has the manufacturing side responded? Um, how can healthcare supply chain deal with COVID and deal with the risk COVID-19 brings? That's where the forecasting part comes in.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
those are mitigation processes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And like for the
So risk
manufacturing,
mapping, forecasting, all of those will come in there.
okay. So for the manufacturing side, so am I like, do you recommend talking about like how they're making or how they're working to make the vaccine? Like, would that fall under the manufacturing side, or would it be like making like the actual masks and getting out like the material? Like, I guess.
I think the vaccine is a different story altogether.
Okay.
Um, you are talking about uh, human welfare here first. Okay, so basic welfare, when somebody is contracting the disease, how do you even manage those people? That's where that supply chain um, is so critical. Okay, when people
Okay.
enter a hospital setting, um, how are they treated? How are they served? Do we have enough of a service ratio?
Okay.
Because if you go into let's not get into um, the vaccine side, because that's a
Okay.
different animal altogether.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that could be a separate paper in its own right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because that supply chain is also very, very interesting. Um, because you are fighting against time to come up with a vaccine, and so how do you choose your actors in the supply chain? Um, should they be globally traded actors versus local agents for whom decision making is a faster process? So all of that becomes a very different,
Yeah.
interesting
Okay.
discussion. Um,
That makes sense.
I think you should keep to just the day-to-day activities side of the story.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think this is a good plan. What do you feel?
Yeah, I was super overwhelmed before this meeting because I didn't really know how to organize it, but this definitely helps a
Does
lot.
it help, right? Like, put everything
Yes.
together.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And put the magic paragraph together, and it'll help you. And so every day, if you feel that you're being overwhelmed, all you need to do is open up the magic paragraph and say, this is my scope, this is my limit, I'll stay to this, end of story.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All
What
right.
else is going on?
Nothing really.
Let me stop the recording.